Hello there, Force of Will players, and welcome back to another Wander Wednesday. Today we're going to be taking a look at something that a few people have requested over my past couple of videos. I took some time and worked with it, tried to figure out as best as I could what I wanted to do with this, and ultimately what you'll see is what I came up with. So today's going to be Aimul. So what does Aimul do? So on her front side, you have it's just basically an activate effect to recover a resonator, and you can only play this ability during your opponent's turn and only once during that turn. So naturally, the most common occurrence that you would use that effect for is for cards like mana dorks, like Flute, for example. I think back in the day, people used to do it with like Sacred Elf or Elvish Priest, like things like that. But now we have Flute. And it's to kind of like mana ramp on your opponent's turn, things like that, right? And then Aimul's Judgment, so she judgments for 2 and 2 light, right? And her judgment effect is when she enters the field, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you put a non-chant with a total cost of 3 or less into the field, and if it's an inverse card, you can choose to invert that card, and the rest go onto the bottom. And then Aimul will gain +2/+2 for each inverse entity that you control. So inverse cards aren't that great. we're playing a couple of them for specific reasons. You could also play Mephistopheles as kind of like a floodgate type effect if you so choose. But her main thing is being able to get basically cheat in a card that costs 3 or less without having to pay the actual mana for it, or just by paying light, right? So what we've kind of gone with is this weird beast engine, okay? And we're trying to abuse her flip in order to get multiple flips throughout turns. So what it is it's using Starving Beast, which is if you control a J ruler, you get 10 +1/+1 counters on Starving Beast, and then you draw a card, and then you destroy a J ruler you control, right? So we're using Starving Beast as this kind of engine in order to flip our Aimul back. And then we're also playing these Magna's Guardian Beasts because you'll get 2 Resonators with total cost 1 when it enters, and then shuffle your deck. So Magna's Guardian Beast just counts as more copies of Starving Beast within the deck. And so what we're attempting to do is use the free Light Will that we're getting from Flute on your opponent's turns, like with the front side of Aimul, in order to play things like Dance of Spirits. Prevent your opponent from basically playing for that turn. And then when we move back to our turn, we have stuff like Setting the Stage for Providence that is going to prevent our opponent from interacting with our plays, right? So we're kind of making it where on our opponent's turn, we're trying to prevent them from playing the game, and then on our turn, we're preventing them from interacting with our game plan. That is what we are going for. And we're doing that by making use of the double light that Flute gives us with Aimul's activated, and then using the rest of our will in order to accelerate our own game plan. The life-stealing altars, these, the flip side of life-stealing altar, the inverse, is when it's inverted, you get a free magic stone rested. And then you can banish a resonator to give, I think, just a resonator -4/-4. That's less important. The main thing is it functions as ramp for us. So we are just playing these two as kind of like quasi ramps. In addition, just having it in play, I know we're flipping back and forth, but just having one in play on the front side, and then paying 1 to just kind of cycle draw value can come up sometimes. Ray the Black Owl also has an inverse side. The inverse is 0. It's an 800/900 light resonator, and it gives all entities, the first time that they're targeted each turn, you cancel the effect of whatever is targeting them, basically. But that also counts for your own stuff, which is why I'm not playing things that would like target a J ruler and destroy it. Like Starving Beast doesn't target, it just destroys it. So that gets around the inverse side of Ray, in the event that I have a 0 in play, the inverse side, and I'm still trying to kill my Aimul. The reason we can keep flipping back and forth, if you're unaware, Aimul does have Imperishable, so anytime she dies, you're allowed to keep judgmenting her, similar to kind of how Order works now. The Arthurs. Arthur is so we can rig the top part of our deck So with when we like Judgment Aimul, or even like before, like there are a few ways you can do it, but like if you were to Judgment Aimul, you can, in response to the enter effect, use Arthur, because now you have a J ruler, and you can use his discard effect. You draw three, and you can put two back, so you can put back a card that you want off of the Aimul effect, like Magnus Guardian Beast or something like that. So it's a way to cheat that in. And then also the just his enter effect, draw two, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. You can do that after you draw for the turn, but before you untap, to also rig the top card of your deck if you want to do it, but not waste the mana in your main. Starving Beast we've already talked about. Garyon, just a good council spell, is also a beast. So it might randomly come up that you need it for something. Ratatosker, also a beast, is also the only other one drop in the deck that we can rip off of Magna's Guardian Beast. So it's 4 hands where we're getting multiple Guardian Beasts in order to get Ratatoskers into play, because the other way that another way of like interaction or lack of interaction, I guess, is if you have a Ratatosker and a Starving Beast and you go into your opponent's turn, you can Dance of Spirits them, and if they can't interact with it, they lose their turn, and then you move to your turn, and now your beasts can't be targeted. So like your Starving Beasts, your Magnus Guardian Beasts, your Rays that are on their front side because they're also a beast, they are unable to be targeted now. So the Ratatoskers also have that kind of effect. They can also get fairly large, right? So they can't, like, they pump whenever another Resonator enters play. So if you have a Ratatosker in play, you Judgment an Aimul, you rip another Magnus Guardian Beast, you get Starving Beasts out, or like another Ratatosker and a Starving Beast, right? One Ratatosker is going to get +6/+6. So it can just kind of ramp pretty high. Magnus Guardian Beast we've already talked about. Giving the Wind Resonators quick cast kind of matters, because you can flash in a Garyon, and you can flash in a Starving Beast, and you can flash in Persephone, so it also does have application there. Magnus Guardian Beast we already talked about. Perseus Call to Action, we're just playing so many beasts. And with Starving Beast just being like a 14/14, being able to give it swiftness for free, and Perseus Call to Action effectively replacing itself, right, drawing a card, gives us more card value in other cards. Persephone, I'm playing Persephone over Lorite. The reason why is a little bit twofold. One, sometimes you're not really worried a whole lot about activate or automatic abilities, because you're kind of just preventing your opponent from playing, right, with like Dance of Spirits and stuff like that, or like setting the stage. The remove card from game effect can be relevant sometimes. It very rarely is, but it can be. And you'd rather have the return target spell to its owner's hand. And then the final thing is her enter can actually be impactful for you, because like, let's say you can't rig your top 3 or anything like that, you can, if you hit a Persephone, play the Persephone, and Persephone can kill your Aimul, which will then draw you a card. And it's not the best, right, because you just got a 6/6 into play. And I guess you get a free card, but it does allow you to flip back in the event that you miss a Starving Beast, you miss a Magnus Guardian Beast. So it's effectively, instead of like only 8 copies of being able to destroy your ruler, you're now playing 11 in that shape. And Persephone also just has more applicability in other areas as well. For the stone lineup, we have Moonshade. We're in a kind of awkward color suite where we have light blue, green, and black, and a little bit of red, but we're really not trying to hard cast Magnus Guardian Beast. You can later down the line, but so you're kind of in all 5 colors here. So we needed the Moonshades. And then we're just playing 3 Gusting Skies, 3 Light Vapors. Light is the most important because your turn 1 play is almost always going to be Flute, because that's just what you want it to be. Otherwise, like, it might be, I don't know, Ratatosker, but like, for example, like blue, you're not really going to be using blue until like your turn 2 or anything like that. So there's no real reason for you to use it, basically. Like, you could probably cut this down to 2 and go up to 4 Gusting Skies. Another thing you can do, that might also be prevalent for the deck, you can cut life-stealing altars, or up their count, either one. If you up their count, upping their count is fine, but if you remove them, I would put in Blessing of Yggdrasil's, and then I would probably take out one Light Vapors and put in a Ragnarok Stone, Ragnarok's Fiery Stone, so you don't have to tap Aimul in order to call a stone. Because effectively, how this deck would play is you call 2 stones, and then you're done calling stones. And you're just working with whatever mana you have from Flute and other things like that, and just trying to win the game off of like Starving Beast, like aggro, from then on. So this was the best thing I could come up with. That's kind of like a coherent type thing. You can also do other things, right? So you can play this in a quasi version of like turn 0 Loki that we've seen, like with the Magna's Guardian Beasts. Same kind of concept. You get a Magna's Guardian Beast, or I mean, mainly it'd be Magna's Guardian Beast for this deck, but you get it out. You put into play 2 1-drop floodgates, like Witch of the Fallen Kingdom or Witch of Unblowing Wind is pretty good right now. Other things like that. Those would also be good options. And then the other one is you can play like the Floodgate editions that are like 3-drops, because you can get them with Aimul. So like one of the ones I was initially looking at is Alice's, Leonor Sphyria, I think is how it's pronounced, because that would just prevent your opponent from having enter abilities during your turn, which means they can't Lorite you, they can't Feasting you, they can't play a new 12 Olympian if they're Zeus, right? They still get the reveals, but so there's like that version. The other thing you could do is take out the 2 altars and then a Ray, put in the 4 Dry Wings in your sideboard, play Origin, so you have green and then some extra will in order to ramp up there. But this is my version, the take that I wanted. There's so much you can do with Aimul, whether you're relying on the front side to recover Resonators over and over again. We don't really have a whole lot of powerful effects anymore. Honestly, its best form of recovering a Resonator is the cheating mana. It's just what kind of mana do you want to cheat, because we have light mana dorks, we have green mana dorks. We technically now have an any attribute mana dork in the form of Regalia Beast. So that is something that could also be looked into. But yeah. So this one was kind of tough. This one was kind of tough to find something, and I've been looking for something to play beasts with, and this was kind of the best thing that came to my mind. So this is going to be the deck list for the week. There will be a tournament report coming out tomorrow for the box tournament run by Ruler School, as well as the Italian event that occurred the previous weekend. I'll just be going over those and my thoughts on the decks. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.